Every day, millions of people search for a single, reliable exercise to flatten the stomach, tighten the waistline, and build a solid core. Inevitably, they land on the plank. The immediate instinct is to treat it like a test of stamina. You drop to the floor, start staring at the clock, and try to survive. The common assumption is that holding this position for 3, 4, or 5 minutes signifies a high level of fitness. However, surviving an extended hold usually suggests that the body has shifted the workload away from the core and onto the joints. This thermal heat map shows the actual distribution of effort during a long, low-quality plank. While the abdominal region remains entirely cold, the lower back flashes bright red, absorbing the weight that the core is failing to support. Prioritizing the stopwatch over physical engineering often leads to a direct collapse of spinal alignment, causing more damage than development. To understand this collapse, we have to look at the body as a suspension bridge. In a plank, the structure must resist the constant downward pull of gravity by distributing the load across the entire length of the core. This vector diagram shows what happens when the bridge fails. As gravity forces the pelvis to drop, the lower back sags. The mechanical load bypasses the abdominal wall, snapping into a dense knot of stress directly on the lumbar vertebrae. This structural failure leads to chronic lower back pain and acute spinal compression, resulting in a core that actually grows weaker as the spine takes the strain. When the back can no longer sustain the weight, the body often overcompensates by shooting the hips upward into a tent posture. Notice how the load immediately abandons the midsection and jams into the shoulder joints. Pushing the hips into the air is a subconscious trick to escape the difficulty of the exercise. It shifts the burden away from the exhausted core, turning an abdominal workout into a grinding strain on the rotator cuffs. Both errors are the result of the body seeking the path of least resistance. It survives the clock by turning off the abdominal muscles, trading true development for joint wear. Even with perfect alignment, holding your breath creates an internal tension that compromises overall stability. This cross-section shows how intra-abdominal pressure functions. Deep, rhythmic breathing allows this internal cylinder to expand and contract, which provides the spine with a dynamic, functional shield. Executing a plank correctly requires total bodily integration, tightening the abdominal wall, squeezing the glutes, and locking the ribs down to turn the body into a taut, stable line. When every muscle fiber is recruited simultaneously, the body will begin to shake within 30 seconds. This involuntary trembling is a more accurate measure of muscular activation than the time shown on a clock. Mastered biomechanics, however, cannot override the way the human body stores energy. As this cross-section shows, the abdominal muscles sit beneath a layer of subcutaneous fat. Regardless of how strong the underlying muscle becomes, it remains hidden if that adipose tissue is not reduced. Thinning that fat layer requires the body to burn through its stored energy, a process driven by a caloric deficit, a high protein intake to preserve the muscle structure as the weight is lost. Once the mechanics and nutrition are aligned, the final challenge is the body's ability to adapt. Repeating the same static position every day allows the nervous system to become efficient, which halts muscle growth. Continued progress requires progressive overload, shifting to new angles, adding external resistance, and introducing instability to force the core to keep adapting. Every breath and every contraction must be executed with deliberate intent to see a change in the physical structure. Moving beyond the 5-minute clock and mastering internal mechanics allows the plank to function as a high-intensity tool for core stability.